Welcome back, everybody. We've got the fan Q&A episode, a new concept this year, which I think is going to be really, really exciting. I've always wanted to try and get all your fan questions and voice messages and things like that in the main podcast, but it always makes it too long. So we're going to do a separate episode, which at this stage is exclusive to YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, which I'm sure you are, please subscribe. It helps a lot. Like the video and leave a positive comment to bat out all the negativity down there sometimes. But we need a special guest. And once again, Joel is here to answer all your questions. He's the man with the real insight. I just speak and let him do all of the knowledgeable North chat because I waffle along a lot. Joel, welcome along, mate, to the very first fan Q&A episode.
Thanks, Josh, for having me. It's always good to, come off actually seeing footy again. Obviously, not the result we wanted, but, I think there's plenty to take away and plenty to talk about from the game.
There is plenty to talk about, mate, and we've got some questions here. So I think we dive straight into it. And we're going to go to some Instagram questions here. North.ball1 says, do you think Archer will face the tribunal? And if so, would the club challenge it? So we do know he's been handed down a 3-week suspension. Do you think North will appeal this? And give us your really quick overview of the situation.
North, I would be surprised if we didn't appeal. It's been a very interesting one to watch. The commentary around it's very both ways. I think Archer, the hard part is for Archer is it looked like a free kick to Archer to a very large extent. His leg was taken very, very much so the Lindsay Thomas rule. There was a few incidents this week which was actually a lot like what we saw. So I'm of the opinion we should appeal. I'm not sure what will happen because by the letter of the law, it's up to him to be the player that is taking care of the other guy, but if he broke his leg in that situation, are we still talking about the same thing?
Yeah, that's a really great point as well, is if Archer got hurt, which we're glad he isn't, would he have been suspended? I don't feel like he would have. And this is the new age of things, isn't it? Because I said on the pod a few days ago when Chief and myself were talking about this, I don't think it should be a suspension, but it absolutely will be. Like, we need to stop looking at it, unfortunately, from a point of it shouldn't be to it will be because we know the track record of the tribunal, and I have no faith in the tribunal to see common sense or reason with this stuff. All I know is a guy got knocked out, so regardless of how he did, the guy who knocked him out is going to get suspended. But I completely agree he shouldn't be suspended whatsoever, and I hope North appeal, but I don't like the chances. I don't think anything will happen. I think he'll be out the 3 weeks, even if I don't agree with it, because common sense and reason is basically non-existent with the review panel. If you agree?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Oh, yeah, absolutely agree. I mean, like they've made it clear though that the onus is on the player that's approaching it to not do it. But that being said, there, like it was very clearly really hard below the knees, and I mean Archer obviously wasn't wanting that outcome because he nearly broke his leg. So it'll be. I mean, I suspect that they're still going to keep the suspension, but I think it'd be good for North to actually challenge. I think there is good grounds to challenge that one.
Yep, I'd agree. So, look, we'll see how it plays out throughout the week. But, I hope Jacko gets off, but I don't like his chances. Let's go to another player that has polarised some of the fans this week, and we'll go to a few more questions here. Jordan Knight says, lucky I waited until the morning to speak, but Cam Zurhaar needs to go to the VFL. Adaman on Instagram says, was at the game, have one big question mark, Zurhaar. How's your thoughts on his game? And yeah, there's a lot of fans. There's one more here, sorry. Michael_Waters, FML Zurhaar. Who do we drop him for to show that every spot on this list and this side is earned? How do you feel about Cam Zurhaar's performance? Give us a quick rundown on your feelings on him. And do you think these comments and questions are fair?
He had really almost game. Like, he had 5 shots on goal. He had really good opportunity to really stamp himself. Like, I'm obviously have been a bit critical this off-season of him. But I think, he had, I mean, like, who I think he is as a player is, that 15 to 20 disposals and 2 to 3 goals. And he, had 20 disposals and he had, 5 shots on goal. If he kicks 3 goals, 3 goals too, we're really in that match in massive parts. And I mean, to be honest, that was the difference in the game in the end, for my opinion, was North just didn't have the skill level to be finishing. And Bull, unfortunately, was a really big issue in that part because he had, 5 shots and 5 marks and shots on goal, proper shots.
Yep.
So yeah, I'd probably say that. And just to the, who would you drop for, bring in for him is a sneaky little thing in the VFL. Harvey did kick 6 goals this week in the VFL. So.
Yeah. I did see that. Look, I don't. One
He's
one
not going to
game's
be dropped
great,
for him though.
Cooper, but yeah, I don't know if
Keep
you're
it up.
taking Zurhaar's spot after that.
No.
But yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, from Adaman's comment is saying like, how do we feel about it? It's interesting because I'd like to know what he thinks about it too. If you're listening and
Mm,
you want to comment down below, or anyone wants to comment down below on Zurhaar's game, please do and let us know what you think, because I'm really interested as why this is so polarizing, because I thought he had a great game bar the kicking. He was probably our best leading forward. He found pockets of space. He'd mark the ball. And if he kicked a little bit straighter, which one hit the post as well,
mm,
he's on for arguably one of the best on the ground. So, look, it's one game. He got around the ball. If he does that every week and kicks a bit straighter, he's going to have the best year of his career. So, look, let's chill out on Zurhaar a little bit. I think, yes, you're right. He probably, if he's accurate kicking, like if his kicking was more accurate, then I think he would have probably won the game, or we would have won the game. But
mm.
also, if we could transition, we would have won the game. Or if we could kick straight, we would have won the game. So there's so many things like that we can talk about. Here's another polarizing one, which I'm interested in your thoughts. And I'm so bad at these names. Andy S. Andy Scalise says, time to move. I apologize for butchering some of these names. Hopefully, this is good content for everyone to listen to. Time to move Comben back forward. Liability tonight, unfortunately. Big _ Spence 44. Was that Chom's worst performance as a defender? Jonathan Albas says, time for Comben to go forward. Bring in a Dawson or a Whitlock, which I'm sure you would love to hear. Charlie Comben's game, and the 2 points I'll make here to let you caveat. Yes, on the eye test for him as an individual playing on Darcy, comprehensively beaten, looked weak in a one-on-one marking competition, and definitely didn't have one of his best games. But Darcy kicked 1 goal, 1, and he probably only had 2 scoring shots for the whole game. Now, Chief was very adamant on this, that he set up everything. He played in the ruck a lot, and I don't disagree with that. And I'm not saying Chomp's performance was good at all. I think it definitely came across as one of the poorer performances he's had. But Darcy didn't really threaten goal, and I know it didn't lead to a win, but he didn't really threaten goal when all the fans thought that he might kick 6 to 8 goals. Give us your opinion on that. Is it time to move Chom? Do we stick with him? What do you think of his game?
That's another very interesting one. I think, like for Chom personally, as you know, yet again, I've really been questioning his one-on-one defensive work. I think he's good intercepting, but the one-on-one is a problem. Yet again, it's compared to last year. I think Darcy kicked like 6 or 7 goals on us. I can't remember the exact number. I mean, I think he took one or two really strong marks inside 50. But Darcy is an incredible player.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Charlie Comben's obviously working on his craft, but Darcy, for me, like if I could take any player out of another list and put him into ours,
absolutely.
Darcy's absolutely number one. If I was Tassie, that would be the absolute player I would target. So I'm not going to yet again. I'm probably a bit more on the air of. I don't think it was. I think he showed enough for me, Chom, in that game. I know it sounds yet again. He's one that I haven't loved his one-on-one, and he did get beaten in a few contests, but I was expecting. I went in expecting Darcy to kick a bag of like 5 or 6, and
so did I.
Yeah, I had no one who could actually beat him. I think I messaged you at the start of the game, Josh, just saying this is a really important match for Chom here to show what he can do. But 2 goal, 1 goal, 1 return from Darcy is actually, I think, very Darcy did well around the field, but Chom, I don't think was, yes, he could have done better in certain situations, but he worked hard. I think he got into a good spot. So I wasn't that against him in this one. All of them.
Apart from his 1 mark in the forward pocket early on in the game, he didn't really get a mark inside 50 for the whole thing. So, look, on the eye test, I completely agree that Chom didn't look to have a very good game at all. But I think the return from his opponent maybe suggests that we've gone a little bit hard on that. And I'm not saying he had a brilliant game. Definitely one-on-one he got beaten. But when he got beaten, it was up the ground in a less threatening position. So take that how you will. Please let us know down below what you thought of Charlie Comben's game. Are you on the side of the fence of his opponent didn't do heaps for the game, or scoreboard-wise? Or are you on the side of we need to be looking at him going back forward? I think it's a little bit early, but say it did continue and he does get some bags kicked on him, I could see that absolutely happening. And if a Whitlock or a Dawson comes in, we know Joel will be incredibly excited about that and say, never take my boy's spot ever again. Harley Harbour on Instagram, leadership from Parker Huge. Still the same brain fades though. I think he's meant to say Darling here. I didn't. It says Ealing. Leadership from Darling and Parker huge. Still the same brain fades though. What did you think of Parker and Darling's leadership? I'll throw Daniel in there too because I think he was probably the best out of the three new recruits for the day. What do you think about their the leadership? Did you see it to be affecting us on the night or impacting, or did you think it sort of fell short of the mark?
Well, there's a couple of ways to look at this. Often in those games last season, when we started to get down like we did in the first quarter, and in the first quarter, I think we had probably about a 15, 20-minute period where our structure really fell apart. After that, I think we started to actually really tighten up and we changed the game, which I don't think we'd done so well in previous seasons. Like we brought it right back into or previous season. I don't think we're able to stop the momentum. We took control in the second quarter, I felt, and we really brought it into a close time. Third quarter was really an arm wrestle. Fourth quarter, obviously, they got the jump on us at the start, but it was really that first quarter I felt that was the difference.
Yeah.
So I think on field, we showed maturity. Parker, I didn't hugely see a lot of or love in this game personally.
Well, give me your opinion on that.
Yeah, well, Parker, I just thought, like I said, I didn't get to see him in the moments that I expected him to. Like there was a couple of moments there where I thought he made a slightly wrong choice when he, could have done something a bit better. But, obviously he's also learning our team at the same time. So I didn't really love his style, and I thought did absolutely everything I wanted him to and expected him to.
Yep.
Like his leading patterns, he brought the ball to ground. There was quite a few times where it was kicked long, and he was able to contest it well enough to either take it out.
A good contested mark in the pocket as well from in front of Rory Lobb, which none of our other forwards could have taken. Rory Lobb was all over him, and he just sort of bodied his way to let the ball drop into his lap, and it sort of just fell to him, which was great. I think with Parker, 21 touches, 61% disposal efficiency, which on the night I thought was pretty poor. I made a comment on the podcast a couple of days ago that I didn't really like Parker's game. And I think a lot of our midfielders especially had a lot of stats, inflated stats, but lack of impact. And I think Parker was maybe the most disappointing in this for the whole day. Luke Parker actually got the second most centre bounce attendances for us for the game with 19, behind a guy that I felt like wasn't in there much as well, Luke Davies-Uniacke, who just want to put a little asterisk on this. One thing maybe I should have mentioned in the podcast a few days ago, I said, especially LDU and I put Powell and Parker and even Sheasel in this category, is our whole midfield lacked impact, even though all the stats showed that we won the midfield battle. But it just goes to show, just because we win stats doesn't mean we do anything with the ball after we win it out of the midfield. And I was a little bit critical on LDU, and I stand by those comments. I did forget to mention he kicked 2 goals. He wasn't going full, put Dusty in the square mode. He sort of got a few, got out the back and kicked one late as well. So it is what it is. But Parker got the second most centre bounce attendances, which was very surprising for me because especially those late game scenarios, I really wanted to see him step up in the midfield and around the ground, and I don't feel like I saw that. It is one game in, and I'm absolutely not writing him off. I said this on the pod too. If he comes out next week and kicks a winner or kicks 3, it's completely fine, right? It's his first game in North Colours, so I'm absolutely not writing him off. I think it's a great signing, but I would like to see him step up in those bigger moments a little bit more. Do you know what I mean? Do you think that's a fair comment to make?
Yeah, I don't think that's unfair at all. Just out of a point of interest as well with that is we won clearances for the first 3 quarters. The only quarter that we lost clearances was the fourth quarter, which is when you were sort of hoping that, I guess, Parker, not that you expect him to be doing the clearances necessarily, but, you expect that maturity to sort of be kicking in and those guys to sort of be helping out a bit. But, like I said, I didn't like his game this week, but it's a bit early to go on him. LDU, just for what it's worth, was our highest player rating player. So he had I didn't love his game on the day, but he obviously even though the stats didn't pan out, he obviously had a fair whack of impact on the contest in the end.
Yeah, no, it's true, and it's a really interesting thing, right? Because I think it comes across different in the stadium compared to on TV. I don't know. Watching the game, I just didn't think he impacted the game very much. I guess we didn't. The last quarter had a couple where he bounced out of the middle, broke away like we know he does, and kicked it onto Paul Curtis's chest. And I don't think it's any coincidence Curtis got into the game then when he was stepping up a little bit. So look, a good game stats-wise, but I would never believe that just because the stats say it's true, that's what it is. That could be old school thinking. Other people love stats. Other people hate them. That's just my opinion, I guess. So let us know if you feel like the midfield and Luke Parker in general was good enough on the day, because it really is confusing. Numbers wise, all of them looked to have decent games. But on the eye test and impact in the stadium, it didn't come across that way. And we got to remember that Treloar and Bont weren't in that midfield. So if they were there, I think we get beaten comprehensively. We still made a subpar midfield look pretty good. So anyway, look, we'll go to the next question. Underscore the jellyfish underscore. Does this performance change your thoughts on how the season will play out?
Um, it's very easy to overreact after one round. Like there was a lot of positives to take away from this game compared to previous seasons. Yes, they had players out, but that's sort of the nature of the game as well to an extent. I mean, Bont and Trello will make them better, but then that being said, their transition game was what beat us, not if they've got the midfield, does that change the way that we structure up and play? Yeah, but we've still, we've still got a bit of time left this season. Obviously, we've got another 22 games on, but I'm not as concerned just yet. It'll be those, like for me, the biggest thing that we need to see is that we had 60 something percentage last season. We need to really be in games for a lot longer. We need to be, those games where we're in control more, we need to be winning. I thought this was a great opportunity for us to win and to show the football world that we've matured. I think we fell short this week, but we've got, Melbourne next week and then Adelaide the week after that. And the maturity for us is going to be, making sure that we're contesting extremely hard in those games and taking it right up to those other teams. Like, no more 10-goal losses, no more 7-goal runs. Try to stop those things from happening.
Because I think for me, it did feel like we were down by more the whole game, and maybe that's just a bit of PTSD from what's been going on. Callum Savo7 also says, should we feel positive about this game? I don't know how to feel about it. Too many mistakes. And I think that sums up everyone's feeling. That if that game's played last year, I think we lose by a lot more. And you're right, it's probably a positive to take that we did keep ourselves in the game. I texted you at the start of the fourth and said, I feel like we're going to give up the first 3 goals and then we're going to claw our way back in, but it's going to be too late. And I think that's exactly how the game played out in the end. We gave up the first 3 and then we kicked 1, let them kick 1. And then we, kept chipping away until we got it to a couple of goals-ish. But it was just too late, and we do good work, but we still have patches in games where we give up goals so quickly. There was a segment on the Sunday Footy Show where Matthew Lloyd's pointing out even Sheezer's work rate not being good enough. His opponent ran off him from a centre bounce and kicked a goal, and it's absolutely true. And just because it's Harry Sheezer and our favourite son, our boy, doesn't mean that he can just waltz around the field and do that sort of stuff. So it's very, very interesting. I don't know how to feel exactly about it, but hey, look, let's go to one more question here just because we're trying to keep this episode short. Let's go to, let me find this question here. One of your favorite guys is going to get spoken about really quickly. Jude underscore Wilson 03. How influential was RHJ? One answer, very. And then we've got another one. So from Zav underscore Papa. What does Clarko see in RHJ? So some very polarizing thoughts there. I thought he was good on the day. He did more than, I think that was probably his best game at AFL level, just because he was involved with the play, getting the ball higher up the ground and delivering. How did you see his game?
Yeah, no, it was a very, it's an interesting game. I could see why he could take it either way, to be fair. It was definitely his best game of AFL footy, and I think you're starting to see more and more of him, and he's starting to use his assets a little bit better. Like he's getting a bit more pace around the contest. He's getting the ball and actually able to use his elusiveness a little bit more than last season when he would occasionally get the ball and get tackled immediately or be under pressure. So he's been a long-term project, and usually with small forwards, I tend to find them coming on a lot quicker than he has. But, based on this week, would he get dropped? I don't really see a reason for him to get dropped based on this week. If he continues to improve, I mean, at that point, you'll start to see him become a better player by the end of the season. I think he's going to be better for these kind of runs. The jury's still out on him, in my opinion, but it's going to be a very, interesting next few weeks for him. I think this was a very good week for him. I think it's a bit harsh to be, saying what we see in him, because there is assets that we see, but it'll just be about how we look over the next few weeks with him, and that's going to be, this season's a defining season. If he doesn't, start playing serious senior football, he'll be delisted at the end of the year, and I think we're pretty aware of that.
I would agree with that. I mean, look, he looked good. His disposal by foot looked pretty good on the day. He got a ball sort of around the high half back area, delivered it over the top of a bulldog right to someone's chest. And he's got a bit of pace and looked more confident around the pack. So, look, I'm pretty happy with him. Let's go one more question before we finish here, because there's one more big point from the game. Bren McFadden on Facebook, just wondering why we keep subbing off Will Phil. No shade, just confused. And we had a few questions like this. Underscore Danica underscore C, thoughts on Will Phil being subbed off? Seems like the wrong choice to me, but keen for opinions. Give us your opinion, Joel. Why Will Phil?
I mean, Will Phil to that point, like, in fairness, I hadn't hugely seen him impact the contest. I'm having a look at his stats here, and he had 11 by what would have been the end of the third quarter. Probably a bit harsh for him. I don't think that if Parker's taking so many of those CBAs and Phillips is getting a bit less, unless he's got different roles, it's going to be a bit tricky for him to play a role in the side. Probably a bit harsh, but I'm not sure who else would we have taken out at that point. I mean, the small forwards, I thought Constanti and Hansen Jr. were doing their roles well, and you're trying to push forward and be more aggressive.
McDonald?
Elmack I didn't think had a particularly bad game either. He had, a good amount of, I thought he was working hard in the contest. I think he got beaten a few times out the back, but it was, when you sit there and watch the game live, a lot of it's that team defense aspect where they're zoning onto different players and that. I don't think Elmack had a particularly poor game, and I guess, Elmack's probably the only other one that you would, but then that's really a like for like. You're not changing anything.
Yeah, it's true.
Where Will Phil, you get him off, and then you potentially bring on Tucker, who might be a bit more of a marking threat and a bit more of a transition threat, or a bit more of a, there's a few different options that he adds a few different things to the game than Phillips would add. And you saw the rotation in the middle for, the people at the centre bounce. So it's a tough one. I'm not sure who else you would take off at that point.
Yeah, it's but not a bad point from you as well. Like RHJ and Constanti were definitely doing their job. I liked Constanti's game as well, even though he didn't necessarily impact the scoreboard. And that's something I want to see from both of them. But I think you're right. If we take off Elmack, you sort of just a like for like and nothing changes. Interesting with the midfield though, maybe to get a bit more pace. I felt like LDU in the last quarter was a lot better and looked more like himself, impacting the game a little bit more. So I don't know if that had a direct correlation to Will Phil going off. I've got no idea. But look, interesting with Will Phil, because we all feel like he's had a fantastic preseason and we all had him as a lock, obviously, to play, and he did, but he's the one getting subbed off. I don't know if anyone deserved to get subbed off personally, but I guess someone has to at the end of the day. So look, we'll leave it there. Let us know down below if you think it was fair to sub off Will Phil and why you think it happened. Joel, thank you. We've done the first Q&A episode. We're trying to keep these around the 20-minute mark-ish. If you want these to be longer, please let us know as well. We're happy to do them for about 30 minutes, but I want something that people are going to click on and enjoy and not complain it's too long. So, Joel, thank you. Thank you for all your insight like normal.
Yeah, no, beautiful. Thanks for having me again, Josh. It's, I said, good to be back at the footy again, at least. It's, better to be back than not.
Strap in, North fans. We're in for another interesting season. Well, look, I'll be down at the D's game. Hopefully Bay 29 is back. I'm sure the Close to a Flag boys will give everyone the rundown on that if all that's going ahead. So thank you again, Joel. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. It helps me out a lot. Leave your comments below on all the opinions here. I want to know what you guys think. And stay tuned to the socials, Instagram and Facebook mainly, every week, and we can see if we can read your question out. Thank you to everyone who sent them in. There's so many. We just try and choose a bunch. Keep sending them in because one week we'll get to you. I remember names pretty well, and if we get the same person every single time, maybe I'll give someone who's put their first question a go. So thank you very much, and stay tuned to Further North. We'll see you guys soon.